Stop. Don't scroll. Don't blink. And whatever you do, check your pocket now. Because right now, somewhere in your house, your car, or your loose change jar, there could be hidden wealth staring at you and you don't even know it. These Washington quarters look normal, boring, ordinary, and that's why they're so dangerous. Nobody talks about these, but collectors are fighting behind closed doors. And when these coins hit auction, it's real auction shock. I'm warning you, do not spend these coins. People are throwing away a silent fortune every single day. In this video, I'm showing you the top 5, and each one gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable. These coins change everything. Stay till the end, because the last one is on a completely different level. First up, let me scare you a little bit. Imagine standing in line, paying for something small, and the coin you just handed over could have paid for a house. That sounds insane, right? But this is not fiction. This is exactly what's happening with a very specific Washington quarter from 1951. And the worst part? Most people miss this. They see it, they touch it, they spend it, and they walk away from a life-changing opportunity without ever knowing. If you've ever held a dark, ugly, almost suspicious-looking quarter and thought, this thing looks worthless, stay with me because this detail changes everything. 1951 was not a calm, forgettable year in America. The country was under pressure. The Korean War was burning money. Resources were being stretched, and the U.S. Mint was not operating in a relaxed, perfect world. This was a time of stress, speed, and massive production demands. And whenever the mint is under pressure, strange things happen. Corners get cut, dies get overworked, quality slips, and that's exactly how accidental treasures are born. The 1951 Washington quarter, without a mint mark, especially the ones that survived with a deep, dark, antique look, comes from that tense, rushed era where nobody was thinking about collectors, only about keeping the country moving. Now, pick up this coin in your imagination. It doesn't feel special at first. It feels like a normal quarter, about 6.25 grams in weight, roughly 24.3 millimeters in diameter, around 1.75 millimeters thick, small, ordinary, easy to ignore, the kind of coin you'd lose in your couch and never care. But that's the trap. That's how silent fortunes survive, by hiding in plain sight. On the front, you have George Washington's profile. Calm, strong, serious. But on these rare examples, the details of his hair, the sharpness of the cheek, the depth of the fields, they hit differently. The surfaces often carry that deep, almost black, smoky toning that comes only from decades of natural aging. On the back, the eagle stands with wings spread, proud and powerful, perched above the arrows and olive branches. And when the strike is right, when the details are still there under that dark skin, collectors' hearts start racing. This is not just a coin. This is history that survived. The metal itself tells a story. This quarter is made of 90% silver and 10% copper. Real money. Heavy for its size. Cold in the hand. Valuable even before you talk about rarity. But here's where it gets dangerous. Most of these coins were used, abused, scratched, cleaned, melted, spent, lost. The ones that survived in original condition, untouched, uncleaned, naturally aged, are a tiny, tiny fraction. That's why survival today is rare. That's why, when one appears, collectors don't celebrate loudly. They go quiet. They get focused. They get aggressive. And you need to hear this clearly. Never clean this coin. Never. Not gently. Not carefully. Not just a little. Cleaning destroys the original surface, and the original surface is everything. That dark toning, that antique skin, that dirty look, that's not damage. That's value. That's proof the coin hasn't been messed with. Once you wipe that away, you don't just lose money, you erase history. And you can never get it back. One of the biggest obsessions with this coin is the missing mint mark. No letter, no little symbol, just empty space. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. And for this year, with the production pressures and the way dies were used and reused, certain examples came out with characteristics that collectors hunt like treasure. Tiny details in the lettering, the sharpness of the eagle's feathers, the way the fields reflect light under that dark toning. These are the things collectors fixate on. This is what they argue about. This is what they pay for. And pay they do. When a truly original, beautifully preserved, naturally dark 1951 no mint mark quarter shows up in top condition, the room changes. Bidding doesn't feel like bidding. It feels like a fight, quiet, controlled, but ruthless. People don't want to sell these. They want to lock them away. They know the truth. Demand is rising, supply is shrinking, and time is not creating more of these. It's only destroying them. That's why today, the right example of this coin can reach $200,000. Let that sink in. $200,000 for a quarter that looks, to most people, like something you'd throw in a tip jar. That's not just money. That's hidden wealth. That's serious money. That's the kind of coin that changes how you see every piece of change forever. So here's your warning, and I mean it. Do not spend this coin. If you find one, the first thing you check is the year, 1951. Then you check for the mint mark. If there is none, your heart should start beating faster. Then you look at the surface. Is it original? Is it dark? Is it untouched? If it is, stop. Put it somewhere safe. Do not clean it. Do not test it. Do not improve it. And get it professionally graded, because authentication and condition are everything at this level. Patience creates wealth in this game. The biggest mistakes are rushing, cleaning, and underestimating what you're holding. Most people fail right there. Most people lose the fortune before they even realize they had it. And listen, what comes next is even bigger. The next quarter on this list makes this one look tame. It's rarer, it's more shocking, and it's even more dangerous to ignore, because people are spending it right now without a second thought. Stay with me, because the next coin is where things get truly insane. Next up, let me hit you with something uncomfortable. Somewhere today, someone is about to buy a soda, a coffee, maybe a cheap snack, and they're about to hand over a coin that collectors would fight for. They won't feel it. They won't hear it. They won't notice it. And that's exactly why this coin keeps slipping through fingers like a ghost. The 1970 Washington quarter without a mint mark is one of those pieces that hides in plain sight so well it feels illegal. Most people miss this. And if you've ever thought it's from 1970, that's not even that old, that mistake could cost you a silent fortune. 1970 was not a calm year in America. The country was changing fast. The economy was under pressure. Inflation fears were growing, and the U.S. Mint was in the middle of a huge transition era. This was the post-silver world for circulating coins. The romance of real metal money was disappearing, replaced by faster, cheaper production. And whenever systems change, mistakes, anomalies, and overlooked rarities are born. This is one of them. A quarter from 1970 with no mint mark is not supposed to feel special. That's the trap. That's how it survives. That's how hidden wealth walks around disguised as pocket change. Hold it in your mind for a second. It feels normal, about 5.67 grams, around 24.3 millimeters across, roughly 1.75 millimeters thick. Small, light, ordinary, the kind of coin you wouldn't even look at twice. The girth, the edge, the weight, nothing screams treasure. And yet, this is not fiction. On the front, Washington's portrait looks familiar, almost boring, until you start noticing the tiny things. The way the hairlines sit, the sharpness around the eye, the tension in the jaw. On the back, the eagle spreads its wings, strong and symmetrical, clutching the arrows and olive branch like it always does. But on the right examples, the details still breathe. Even in fine condition, the coin has presence. It has a look that says it lived a life and survived it. Now here's where the story gets dangerous. This coin is made from a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver. That means almost nobody thought to save them. Nobody hoarded them. Nobody treated them like something special. They were used, spent, scratched, dropped, lost, destroyed. And that's exactly why survivors, especially the right survivors, are so hard to find today. The supply didn't shrink in a vault. It vanished in pockets. The missing mint mark is where collectors start to lean in. No little letter, no sign, just empty space. Philadelphia issue. Sounds boring, right? It's not. Because in 1970, production pressure, die wear, and sheer volume created coins with subtle characteristics that collectors are absolutely obsessed with today. Tiny differences in strike, the clarity of the details, the way the fields reflect light, the edge, the rim. These are the things that separate a throwaway coin from a life-changing opportunity. And let me say this clearly, do not spend this coin. If you find one and you think it's only in fine condition, stop. Condition matters, yes, but originality matters more. Never clean this coin. Cleaning doesn't make it better. It kills it. The natural surface, even if it looks dull, even if it looks dark, even if it looks tired, that's the proof it's real, untouched, and honest. Once you wipe that away, the value doesn't drop a little. It collapses. Collectors don't chase this coin loudly. They chase it quietly, aggressively. When one appears, especially one that checks the right boxes, the bidding doesn't feel like excitement. It feels like tension. People don't want to sell. They want to hold, because they know something most people don't. Demand is creeping up, supply is evaporating, and time is not on your side. Why do they emotionally want this coin? Because it represents a forgotten era, a transition moment, a piece of money that wasn't supposed to be special and became special because nobody cared enough to protect it. That's the kind of rarity that doesn't come back. Today, the right 1970 no-mint mark Washington quarter can reach $176,000. Read that again. For a quarter that looks like it belongs in a vending machine. That's serious money. That's hidden wealth. That's the kind of coin that makes you check every single piece of change you touch for the rest of your life. Here's the subtle advice that creates fortunes. First, check the year. Then, check for the mint mark. Or in this case, the lack of one. Then, look at the surface. Original? Untouched? Not cleaned? Good. Stop there. Protect it. Get it professionally graded. Authentication and proper grading are not optional at this level. They are everything. The biggest mistakes are impatience, cleaning, and assuming you know what's valuable just by looking. That's how people lose quiet wealth every single day. And listen, stay till the end of this series, because the next quarter makes this one feel almost polite. The next one is rarer, more shocking, and even more dangerous to ignore. And when you hear its story, you're going to realize just how many fortunes have already been accidentally spent. Next up, this one is dangerous because it feels familiar. Too familiar. It comes from a year everybody recognizes, a year people trust, a year that doesn't trigger any alarm bells at all. And that's why this coin keeps getting spent. Lost. Traded for junk. Forgotten. The 1976 with D Washington quarter is the kind of coin your brain tells you is just a regular bicentennial quarter, and that little thought, just that, has already cost people fortunes. Because some versions of this coin are not souvenirs. They are hidden wealth. 1976 was not a normal year in the United States. The country was celebrating 200 years of independence. There was pride, nostalgia, pressure, and massive demand for commemorative coinage. The mint was working hard, fast, and under enormous public attention. When that happens, production isn't gentle. Ds get pushed too long. Quality control gets stretched. Volume becomes more important than perfection. And once again, that's how accidental rarities are born. Coins that were never meant to be special quietly became silent fortunes. Now picture this coin in your hand. It doesn't feel heavy like old silver. It feels modern, about 5.67 grams, around 24.3 millimeters in diameter, roughly 1.75 millimeters thick. The girth, the size, the edge, nothing about it screams 6 figures. It feels like the kind of quarter you'd toss in a drawer and forget. And that's exactly how these get lost. On the front, you still have Washington's profile, calm, steady, familiar. A grayish antique tone covers the coin. Not shiny, not bright, not flashy. It looks tired. It looks honest. On the back, instead of the usual eagle, you have the bicentennial drummer design. The colonial drummer boy, the torch, the stars. It looks old. It looks tired. It looks honest. On the back, instead of the usual eagle, you have the bicentennial drummer design. The colonial drummer boy, the torch, the stars. A symbol of celebration. A symbol that makes people think collector piece, but also strangely makes them think common. That contradiction is the trap. This coin is made of copper-nickel clad, not silver, and that single fact caused massive destruction of potential survivors. People didn't protect them. They didn't store them carefully. They didn't respect them. They were spent, banged up, scratched, and abused for decades. The ones that remain today with original surfaces, especially with that natural gray antique skin, are rare by survival, not just by mintage. And then there's the mint mark, the little D from Denver. That tiny letter changes everything. Collectors are obsessed with specific bicentennial issues, specific strikes, specific surface qualities. They study the details, the drummer's lines, the sharpness of Washington's hair, the rims, the fields, the way the light moves across that gray surface. Tiny things. Things most people never see. This detail changes everything. Let me warn you clearly. Do not spend this coin. And whatever you do, never clean it. That dull, gray, slightly dirty look? That's not a problem. That's the proof it hasn't been messed with. Original toning is not a flaw. It's a signature. The moment someone tries to make it shiny, the value doesn't go down a little, it dies. Completely. Why is this coin so emotionally powerful for collectors? Because it comes from a historic year that everybody recognizes, but almost nobody takes seriously anymore. It represents a moment in American history, a celebration under pressure, mass production under stress. And the truly good survivors from that chaos are disappearing fast. When one of these appears in the right condition, the room changes. Collectors don't joke. They don't hesitate. The bidding is quiet, focused, and aggressive. People who own them don't want to let go. They understand something simple and terrifying. Demand is rising, supply is shrinking, and time is destroying more of these every single year. That's why today, the right 1976 with D. Washington quarter, with that original grayish antique look, even in fine condition, can reach $158,000. For a coin people use to buy snacks. That's serious money. That's quiet wealth. That's the kind of discovery that makes your hands shake when you realize what you're holding. Here's the smart way to think. First, check the year, 1976. Then check the back, drummer boy. Then check for the D mint mark. Then look at the surface. Is it original? Is it untouched? Is it not cleaned? If yes, stop. Protect it. Put it away. Get it professionally graded. At this level, grading is not a suggestion. It's the difference between a story and a fortune. The biggest mistakes are always the same. Cleaning, rushing, and assuming this can't be that special. Most people miss this. That's why these coins keep slipping back into circulation like ghosts. And listen to me, what comes next is even bigger. The next quarter on this list makes this one look almost safe. It's rarer, it's more shocking, and it's even more dangerous to ignore, because people are still spending it today without realizing they're throwing away a piece of their future. Next up, this one shouldn't exist, and that's what makes it terrifying. Somewhere out there, right now, this coin is sitting in a drawer, a jar, a cup holder, maybe even in someone's wallet, and they have no idea they're carrying a 5-figure mistake made by the US. Mint. A mistake so quiet, so easy to miss, that it keeps slipping back into the world like nothing happened. The 1993 with S. Washington quarter, with silver composition and a major error, is not supposed to be in circulation. And when something is not supposed to exist, collectors go absolutely crazy for it. This is not fiction. 1993 was not a year anyone thinks about when they think rare coins, and that's exactly why this is so dangerous. The US. Mint was deep into modern production mode. Systems were fast. Processes were automated. Proof coins, circulation coins, different compositions, different pipelines, everything moving at the same time. And whenever machines, humans, and pressure mix, something slips through. In this case, something priceless. This was an era where silver quarters were not meant to be in regular circulation. They were supposed to be controlled, accounted for, kept in special sets. But somehow, a 1993 quarter with the S mint mark, San Francisco, was struck in silver composition and escaped with a major error. That's not just rare. That's a production accident that turned into hidden wealth. Now imagine holding it. It feels different, heavier, colder, more serious, about 6.25 grams instead of the normal 5.67, around 24.3 millimeters in diameter, roughly 1.75 millimeters thick. Same size as any other quarter, but the weight tells a different story. The girth, the edge, the ring when it's gently tapped, it doesn't behave like a normal modern quarter. Your fingers know before your brain does. This is not normal. On the front, Washington looks the same at a glance. Calm, familiar, almost boring, and that's the disguise. But when you look closer, the surfaces, the strike, the feel of the metal, it's different. On the back, the eagle stands proud, just like always. No drummer, no fancy design, nothing to warn you. That's why these get spent. That's why people lose them. And then there's the error. I'm not even going to soften this. Big errors are collector magnets. They are chaos frozen in metal, proof of a moment when the system failed. Whether it's a wrong plancher, a wrong strike, or a wrong composition, it tells a story the mint never meant to tell. And this one tells a story of silver where there should be none. The metal composition is everything here. This is not the normal copper-nickel clad. This is silver, real, valuable old-school money hiding inside a modern date. And because nobody was looking for it, because nobody expected it, many of these were spent, damaged, or destroyed before anyone realized what was happening. That's why survival is so rare. Let me say this clearly and slowly. Do not spend this coin, and never clean it. Not even a little, not even just to see it better. Errors live and die by originality. The surfaces, the toning, the untouched skin, that's the proof. The moment you interfere, you don't just hurt the value, you can destroy the evidence. Collectors are obsessed with coins like this for emotional reasons, not just financial ones. This is a modern coin that should not be silver. It's a rule breaker, a glitch in reality, and when one shows up, the room goes quiet. Phones come out. People lean in. The bidding doesn't feel excited, it feels predatory. Most owners don't want to sell. They want to hold, because they know something simple. Demand is rising, supply is microscopic, and the mint is never going to make this mistake again on purpose. Even in very fine condition, if the coin is authentic, original, and clearly the silver era, examples like this have reached $100,000. For a quarter from 1993. Read that again. That's serious money. That's silent fortune. That's the kind of discovery that makes your brain stop working for a second. So here's what actually matters. First, check the year, 1993. Then check for the S mint mark. Then pay attention to the weight and the feel. Does it feel heavier than it should? Then and only then, get it checked by professionals. Professional grading is critical here. You cannot guess this one. You cannot eyeball this one. Authentication is everything. The biggest mistakes? Spending it, cleaning it, assuming that's impossible. That's how people erase life-changing opportunities without ever knowing. And listen, stay with me, because the next quarter on this list is even more unbelievable. It's rarer, it's more shocking, and it's even more dangerous to ignore. And when you hear what makes it special, you're going to realize just how many fortunes have already disappeared back into everyday change. Next up, this is the one people throw away without even slowing down. This is the coin that lives at the bottom of cup holders, under couches, in old jars, in parking lots, in cash registers, and nobody respects it. It's dirty. It's tired. It looks abused. It looks like the most worthless quarter you could possibly imagine. And that's exactly why this one keeps erasing fortunes from people's lives. The 1998 with P. Washington quarter, in old, dirty, circulated condition, is one of the most dangerous coins on this entire list because it looks like trash. Let me ask you something honestly. If you saw a filthy 1998 quarter on the ground, would you even pick it up? Most people wouldn't. And that's how hidden wealth stays hidden. 1998 was a strange moment in American coinage. The country was stable on the surface. The economy looked strong, and nobody was paying attention to coins anymore. Everything was about cards, machines, speed, convenience. The US Mint was pushing out massive numbers of coins, fast, efficiently, without anyone thinking about collectability. And whenever production becomes invisible to the public, that's when strange, rare survivors are born. Not because they were special when they were made, but because they were not supposed to be special at all. This quarter comes from that exact blind spot in history. Now imagine it in your hand. It feels completely normal. About 5.67 grams, roughly 24.3 millimeters in diameter, around 1.75 millimeters thick. The girth, the size, the weight, nothing about it sets off alarms. It's copper-nickel clad. No silver, no shine, no romance. Just a modern quarter, the kind you'd spend without thinking. And yet, this is not fiction. On the front, Washington's face is there, worn down, maybe soft in the hair, maybe flat in the cheek. On the back, the eagle is still there, but probably weak, tired, rubbed down by thousands of hands and decades of movement. Nothing about this coin is pretty. And that's the disguise. That's why people lose them. That's why people spend them. That's why people destroy them. The mint mark is a small p Philadelphia. Again, sounds boring. Sounds common. Sounds safe to ignore. And that's where the story turns dangerous. Because, for this year, in this ocean of production, Certain examples exist with specific characteristics, specific strikes, specific surface behaviors, and details that collectors hunt like predators. Tiny things. The way the rims are shaped, the spacing in the lettering, the texture of the fields. Details that don't jump out at normal people's, but absolutely obsess serious collectors. And here's the part that twists your brain. Some of the most valuable examples are not shiny. They're not pretty. They're not nice. They're original. Dirty. Dark. Untouched. Honest. Let me say this clearly. Never clean this coin. That dirt, that grime, that ugly skin, that's not damage. That's evidence. That's proof the coin hasn't been messed with. The moment someone tries to make it look better, the value doesn't improve. It dies. And yes, do not spend this coin, because this is exactly the kind of quarter people are spending every single day without a second thought. Why is survival rare? Because nobody saved them. Nobody protected them. They were used hard, lost, destroyed, melted, bent, trashed. The ones that remain today, with the right original surfaces and the right characteristics, are rare by pure accident. Collectors want this coin for emotional reasons, not just money. It represents a forgotten era of money, a time when nobody cared. And the few survivors from that neglect have become trophies. When one appears, the room doesn't get loud. It gets tense. People lean forward. Bidding is controlled, sharp, competitive. People who own them don't want to sell because they understand the math. Demand is creeping up, supply is collapsing, and time is only making it worse. That's why even a dirty, circulated, ugly-looking 1998 with P. Washington quarter, if it's the right one, can reach $70,000. For a coin, people kick down the street. That's silent fortune. That's serious money. That's the kind of discovery that makes you rethink every single piece of change you've ever ignored. Here's the smart, quiet approach. First, check the year, 1998. Then check for the P mint mark. Then don't judge it by beauty. Judge it by originality. Is it uncleaned, untouched, honest? If yes, stop. Protect it. Put it away. Get it professionally graded. At this level, professional grading is not optional. It's everything. The biggest mistakes are always the same: cleaning, spending, and assuming this can't be anything. Most people miss this. That's why these fortunes keep vanishing back into circulation. And now you see the pattern. It's not the shiny coins. It's not the pretty coins. It's the ignored coins. The ugly coins. The forgotten coins. 5 Washington quarters. 5 silent fortunes. 5 chances that could completely change someone's life. And most of them are still being spent like nothing. Right now, somewhere, someone is losing a fortune and doesn't even feel it. So tonight, don't scroll. Don't assume. Check your pockets. Check your drawers. Check your jars. And remember what I told you at the beginning. Do not spend these coins, because the next quarter you ignore might be the one that was supposed to change everything.